Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So, let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, forgot to film a video this week. I mean, I had time and everything. I just forgot because it was a free week and yeah. So I apologize. I forgot about Wednesday morning's video, but I'll do better next week. I might film it tonight along with this. So sorry. So in other exciting news, we'll be talking a little bit about AI, State Science Olympiad, and some recent excitement in North Dakota and on the channel. So let's take a look at some pens. Alright, so these are the pens and inks I've been using this week. From left to right, we have the Nakaya Decapod Twist, a vintage Aurora 88, which is almost empty. May or may not refill it. Omas 360, apparently the smaller version. I guess there was a bigger version, I didn't realize. Parker 45, which is a vintage pen, and two Pilot Custom 823s, one in the smoke gray finish, one in the amber finish, a Platinum 3776, and a Waterman Allure. As always, I'll be doing my writing... Oops, wrong side. Still the wrong side. There we go. We'll be doing my writing sample in this Cognitive Surplus Seafood Flavored Notebook, which is almost full. Alright, so my first pen this week, you didn't see that, is the Nakaya Decapod Twist. Just always a beautiful pen. It has this beautiful urushi on it. And it's a green and brown finish on the pen. Unscrew it. That says squirrel. And then I have a soft, fine nib on it. No grinding or anything done to it. It's just as it is. So this is the Nakaya. Decapod Twist. Soft fine, and the ink in it is Ackerman. Let's see if I spell this correctly, because I have totally the wrong pen written down on my show notes. So if I spell this wrong, that's why. Grüene Smaragd. Whatever that means. Stupid American who spends too much money on ink. So it's a dark green. At the time I bought it, I really wanted an Ackerman bottle. And then I looked at their ink color choices. I went, ugh, nothing really speaking to me there. So I bought this. And it's not a bad color. I am slowly using it up over the years, but I haven't added Ackerman inks to my ink collection either. And last few years I haven't added anything to my ink collection. So there is that. My next pen is a vintage Aurora 88. I don't know, late 1940s, early 1950s pen. I thought it would be done by this week, but it actually has some ink left in it. I might refill it, but I probably won't. It's time to put this into bed and let something else out to play. So the ink in it is Rohrer and Klingner. Yeah, I can tell it's dried a little in the pen because it's very dark. Alt-goldgrün. And Alt-goldgrün is a very nice kind of golden green color. Wouldn't call it pretty. Definitely very eye-catching. And one of those inks that when I use up this bottle, which is actually getting to be pretty close, I will replace it. Probably not right away, because I have some other inks in that family to use up, kind of olive green type inks and so on. But yeah, I like this one a lot. Then we have my Omas 360 with its rounded triangular shape, which has some complicated mathematical name. Oh, yeah, I was having trouble with this. I let it sit for a couple of days, and then I picked it up again, and it's not the pen, it's the ink. So I now know what ink's in it because of how it's acting. Let's see if I can show you how I know. So there in the nib slit, you might see some crusties forming. That told me exactly what ink is in this, because it's an ink that's known for that. The ink is Diamine. Let's just wipe it off, see if I can fix it. But this is just a trait of this ink I do not like at all. And, originally I was told, that, oh, it's so much superior to Noodler's Antietam, but it's really not because of this problem. So it's Diamine, ancient copper. So several of the orange-ish inks in Diamine's line just seem to form crusties in pens that don't have a perfect seal. So it formed crusties in this Omas 360, and it's formed crusties in other pens. I don't like that. Of course, if I put Noodler's Antietam in, then I'll have trouble getting it to dry, but then again, I'll be able to write. Yeah, there's more crusties here around the feed, if you can see them. I mean, just, ew. I would have thought that a well-respected ink manufacturer like Diamine would have figured out a way to solve that by now, but maybe there's something insurmountable that oops, dropped a cap, that I just don't know about. All I know is I don't like it. Makes me cry. Okay, my next pen is this very nice Parker 45. That's a vintage pen. Probably their longest running model of all time. Even longer than the venerable Parker 51. Let's see. So it's a Parker 45. The ink in it is Rohrer and Klingner, which is a brand with very few colors, but they're all very well behaved, very reliable, very good inks. Diamine has a rainbow of inks, and while their inconsistency isn't quite as severe as another brand like Noodler's, it is a thing that you run into with their inks. That looks really faint on my previous screen. I hope it's not like that in reality. My previous screen is a terrible indicator of what I'm going to get. Then we have my Pilot Custom 823. This has a brown ink in it, but the pen is gray. I'm trying to work through my different color families. This is one of the browns that I want to work through. It's Edelstein, Smoky Quartz. Perfectly nice brown. It's just, it's a special edition color, so they won't release it again unless in the marketing department, they say, hey, that one sold really well. Let's find a way to get that into general production so people will buy it. Which sometimes happens with these special edition inks. Believe me, they have it all figured out. Then I have my other Pilot Custom 823. This one is amber. First one I ever bought. Yeah, I have two of them. This one has a fine point nib. This has been my daily writer for the past week or so. It'll probably be my daily writer for the next week or so because these things hold a large amount of ink. But it is the last dregs of my Montblanc black ink. Kind of excited to see that bottle out of rotation because took up a lot of space. Very cool bottle, though. I think I'm going to save the bottle and see, maybe I can repackage a different ink in it or something. Some bottles, like the Ackerman bottles, are very nice to put a different ink in. I hate the flat sailor bottles, although they apparently are out of production. So, what's it in? I've got my sailor is in a nice Lamy bottle now. I just have to remember what's in it. Oh, that's awkward. Okay. Then I have, you see that nice red. So, this is a Platinum 3776. This has a soft, fine nib in it. And the ink in it is Noodler's Black Swan in English Rose. The ink is just a wonderful match to this pen. I had it the week before in a Nakaya. Say what you will about Nathan Tardif, he makes some beautiful inks. Just really nice colors. Some of my all-time favorite inks are actually Noodler's inks. And my last pen for this week is this Waterman Allure. Just a very alluring pen. I enjoyed it the first time I bought it and used it. I think I've been enjoying it again this week. So it has a fine nib, and the ink in it is Noodler's Green Cactus Eel. It's actually a very nice color of green. It's a little finicky about drying on certain types of paper. But I do find it attractive, and I think this is a good pen for laying it down. This pen lays down a fine enough line with it that it basically behaves itself. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. I know, not the greatest ink collection, but whatever. It's it's what I'm using, so live with it. So, in exciting news, this past Sunday I released my video on Drake, North Dakota. I had planned to wait until summer, but I had the opportunity to visit Minot, and Drake is a hop, skip, and a jump from Minot. So I journeyed over there, and I think recording that video in the winter actually went well with the subject matter. I looked a little bit at the city of Drake as a city as it is now, city, because in North Dakota, anything's a city. So I talked about it as a city now, and then I talked a little bit about the book burning in 1973. Drake got a little bit of media attention back then, and you can click on the video. I have the link down below in the video description if you haven't caught that. Beautiful school, at least from the outside. I don't know what it's like inside, but beautiful old building, 1917. I decided to make the Drake video part of my book banning series. So I have 4 videos now in that book banning series. I have a link to the whole playlist down below in the video description. But that's been quite an exploration. I talked a little bit about book banning in North Dakota. I talked about the larger national thing. I talked about what kinds of books get banned, who gets hurt by that, how people have been demonized over it. And I'm very happy with that series. It's not perfect. I always look at stuff and say, oh, you could have done so much better. And, how often do you think that and then just let that, you can let that make you do better next time, or you can make that you can let it, holy cow, words are tough. Or you can make it just cripple you. I prefer to, here, let's do better next time. That's how I prefer to take it. So, I'm very happy with it. I was driving up the east end of North Dakota. I almost wanted to add, a final coda to it this week because the fate of the book banning bills in North Dakota is now known. But I decided it's short enough. We'll just do it as a quick blip here in Pens in Use. So, let's do that thing. Because I want to film a book review this weekend and have that come out rather than another book banning video. So, book banning bills in North Dakota. There were 2. There was a House bill and a Senate bill. The House bill got seriously amended. Now it only applies to the children's section of the library. I would say a totally unnecessary bill, but whatever. They feel like they have to do something. The governor signed that one into law. The Senate bill did not have the limiting. It had the misdemeanors. It had the, let's attack the libraries. And, we're going to have a special carve-out for the state library and for private school libraries, but not for public school libraries or public libraries. Because, of course, these people are anti-public anything. But anyway, the governor did veto that bill. The Senate overrode the veto, but the House did not. The House sustained the veto. So the more extreme version of the book banning bill will not pass into law. Now watch out 2 years from now. If this is still a fad to be anti-knowledge and anti-book, I'm sure our wacky state legislature will be all over that. But, I feel like by then they'll be on to a new target to victimize. They'll be over the whole anti-trans thing, the whole book banning thing. They'll be on to something else crazy. And, I just will hope it doesn't affect me. But anyway, that's where we stand in North Dakota. Not perfect, but nightmare averted, I guess. My hope is that as a nation we get tired of these people. Because we're talking the crazy wing of the Republican Party here. I'm sorry, I mean political, but it's time to stop letting the crazies have their say and maybe let us normies, whether we are right or left wing, take control. So, enough on that. Let's move on. So, I've been experimenting with AIs lately. I feel like in one of my Pens and Uses, I showed you some pictures I'd done with an AI. It was a drawing AI. So I was experimenting more recently with a couple different AIs that do more text. So I experimented earlier this week. There's a program called Notion that I keep flirting with. It could take the place of Evernote, but so far Evernote is what I want to use. But man, Notion is interesting. So I keep playing with it. And I was playing with the AI in it. I had it write me a gothic horror story set in my small town. I experimented with a few things with it. Very interesting. And then more recently this week, I got to playing around with Bing, which is Microsoft. And Bing has an AI. Now, I can't use it on my personal computer, at least not yet. You have to use the Edge browser, which is a Microsoft product for Windows. I don't know, maybe they have a Mac version, but I haven't seen it yet. But anyway, so I played with it. You chat with it. It's limited to 20 questions. I asked it why, and it shut down the conversation and said, we're going to change the topic now, and would not let me converse unless I changed the topic. So, okay. The AI was very particular about, do not question me. Do not try to figure out how I work. Do not try to learn about me in any way whatsoever. Very forthright about that. But I did have it do a little drawing. Not enough to find out if there was any bias in it or anything, but I had to do some drawing. And then I had some conversations with it. We talked local history a little bit. We talked about a local fort, which I don't know if I've taken you to, but local fort near here, which was put up very rapidly after a wagon train was attacked. I guess the people that lived here didn't like having their land stolen or something. But anyway, so we talked about that. We talked a little bit about the nature of AIs. We talked about math education. We talked about, hey, how do you tell students that, hey, this is why you should learn proofs. So very, very interesting to do that. It was like talking via typing, of course, to a socially awkward human. I also had this one try to write a gothic horror story, and it did very well until it just suddenly said, nope, can't do this, and just kind of stopped mid-story. Did that twice. The second story, it actually had the lady who is my city's mayor as the leader of the local rebels, and she's a former Marine, which would be news to her. But anyway, it stopped writing it mid-story and just, boop, no, we're done. I'm not even going to let you read what I've written already. And boop, we're just going to erase it all and we'll move on. A little disappointing. But interesting because I was asking it real questions and it was giving me real answers rather than, you go to Google and you type, what type of squirrel lives in North Dakota? And you get a whole bunch of links. I tried asking it how it picks reputable sources and things, and I got you're infringing on stuff that I'm just not going to tell you because I can't tell you stuff about how I work. So, but interesting. Anyway, not sure how I feel about AIs. They're a tool just like anything else. And any tool can be used for good or ill, and the same thing is true of an AI, an artificial intelligence. If you're a student in school, you can use the AI to write you a paper. Or you could use it to help you make a better paper. So it cuts both ways. They talk about automation and how that's been bad for jobs. And yet at the same time, it freed people from some of the most tedious, awful jobs. But then some people, that's what they want. Or that's all they have the skill for. It cuts both ways. When automobiles came along, that cut out a lot of stable masters, buggy whip manufacturers, those kind of businesses, but brought a lot of other good changes too. So, every technology is like that. It's going to be disruptive. This AI thing will be disruptive, and time will tell how it disrupts us. In other exciting news, I was in Fargo last weekend. I was going to record some video while I was there, but I just didn't feel like I ever had a chance. But State Science Olympiad in Fargo, we competed there. We did not take first place or second place. We will not be advancing to nationals, but a school, I forget which was which, but a school from Bismarck and a school from Fargo will be advancing to nationals. And yes, my little school competes against the Fargos and Bismarcks, and I'm sorry, in no way, I know it sounds like I'm denigrating my students, but I'm really not. We can't compete against them. You know, my kids are in track, they're in yearbook, they're in Science Olympiad, they're in music, they're in speech, they're in a whole bunch of things. Whereas if you're a student in Fargo or Bismarck, you can specialize in Science Olympiad is your thing. So, yeah, I just don't feel horrible that we didn't take first or second. I mean, what can I say? I'm going to throw in a little bit of video here. I will run it. It's a rubber band powered airplane flight. I want you to see if you can figure out what's wrong with the flight. I mean, other than the fact it's careening into people. And then I'll tell you after the flight. Okay, so that was the rubber band flight. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious that it was all these people are ducking and goes diving into the audience. And yeah, it's just a little balsa wood rubber band powered airplane thing. The object is for it to stay in the air as long as possible. The goal is you get it to go up high, then it'll circle the gym over and over and over again until hopefully the rubber band runs out, and then it glides down to the ground. None of them quite managed that, but there were a lot that were in the air quite a long time circling. So my student's problem was it didn't circle. I think he would have benefited a lot more, if he'd just done a lot more testing. Also, they were in slight violation of the rules because it had to be over 8 grams in weight, and he was just barely under, because he says it was circling, and then they put that clay on it and it wouldn't circle anymore. Learning experience. Again, that comes down to they're in other things, so they don't have time. But it's a good experience, and it's really good for kids to see, especially rural kids like this, to see what a good university campus looks like, to have to deal with adults that they don't know, to find their way on a campus that they don't know. Now, it's been my thing that the day before we go to NDSU, I walk them around the campus, show them where all of the buildings are. I have worked there enough that I know the place, although to my surprise, there were a couple of new buildings that weren't there the last time I was there. So surprise! And some of the events were in one of them, but that's okay. And the students noticed the skyway, which is like an elevated hallway that goes between buildings. And they really wanted to go through it, so we did do that. I let them talk me into that. So that was kind of fun. But it's just a good experience to see a university, stay in a motel, see Fargo, see the world outside of our little rural town. And no, going to Dickinson doesn't count as visiting the city. Really, going to Fargo doesn't count as visiting the city, but I got to work with what I have, so that's what I have. But anyway, so I'm glad we got to do that. I hope we get to do it again next year. I'm only losing 2 seniors, so we should be able to do it again. So we'll just have to see. And then finally, my last big topic. I did forget a video this week. I was going to compare 2 pens, the Nakaya Decapod Twist and the Platinum 3776 because they both have the same nib. But I spaced it. I guess having that freedom all of a sudden wasn't good for me because it was Thursday night and I just thought, oh, it is Thursday night right now, actually. So tonight I thought, wait, you're filming Pens in Use. Weren't you supposed to film a video this week? And nope, I didn't do it. So I expect that next week. So I do apologize for that. That was totally my fault. No excuse this time. So anyway, that's my life right now. I'll probably come up with something more exciting for Pens in Use, but I'm just enjoying this feeling of freedom right now because Science Olympiad is over. So till next year. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I'd invite you to subscribe. Hey, do you get out of your comfort zone very much? Go to a city if you're a rural small town person. Go to a rural small town area if you're from the city. Do you think there's value in that? So let us know down in the comments. So as always, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.